Good morning, GMAT Club. Smartperson here to offer you a little bit of advice around your application story. So everyone has been talking to you about making sure your application story is consistent across the many components of your app, your essays, recommendations, etc. But you may be wondering to yourself, what really is my story and how do I figure it out? So I'm here to offer a little bit of advice on that. So people are there to help you. I think your friends, family, and coworkers are great resources to use in the process of developing your story, and actually several admissions consultants have real processes to help you figure it out. But regardless of what path you choose to take, figuring out your story starts as a very deeply personal and reflective process, and it's one that I think that you should start on your own. So the way that I recommend you begin is carving out probably at least 1 to 2 hours to start, and potentially more, to sit down and build an inventory of everything that you've done. And that includes the education that you've decided to pursue, that includes the work, career choices that you've made, the transfers that you've made over your career progression. It includes your extracurricular activities. It's really everything. And what we're looking for here is not just a list of what you've done, but really why. Why did you decide to make these transfers? Why did you decide to pursue this course of education over another? What was your motivating factors? What are you heading towards, and where are you trying to go? And what you'll find is when you start to think about the rationale for everything that you've done, you find these threads that really kind of tie everything together. And those threads are what form the core of your story. So just because you have a potentially more traditional career background doesn't mean that your story is going to be the same as everybody else. In fact, I guarantee if you put in enough time, you'll find that you have a unique story that's different from everybody else and is a story that's worth telling. So once you sort of figured out the proto-elements of your story, you need to be able to start to refine it to make it something that's easier to communicate. And that's a place that I do recommend you bring in people. So that means your friends, family, and it does mean the coworkers that potentially you're comfortable talking with, perhaps former coworkers. Start to run it by them. Start to think about your story in a way that's easier to share with people, because ultimately you're going to be making this part of your entire application. It needs to be something that people have an easy time understanding. And actually, I do suggest, as long as you're comfortable with it, talking to the folks over at GMAT Club, on the chat rooms, potentially in the forums, who don't know you as well, and from just a short conversation, being able to sort of pitch your story to them and getting feedback on them. Because it's true that your family and your friends know you really well, but ultimately the admissions committee has some pieces of paper, some recommendations, and some essays, and they're trying to figure out your story. So you want to try and run it by people who don't know you that well, people on places like GMAT Club, who will be able to give you a lot of feedback and potentially really help you hone your story down into something that will work really well with the admissions committees. So I guess in closing, I really want to say just remember to make sure that you take advantage of all of the resources that are available to you. That means the GMAT Club website, that means the chat rooms, it means people that you know, it means people that you don't know, it means the admissions committees, it means potentially consultants. It really means everything that's out there that you want to take advantage of. Just remember that it's there, and remember to take advantage of it. All right, have a great day, guys.
Hi GMAT Club, I am Chitara1980, and I am recording this message in celebration of GMAT Club's 1 millionth post. I joined GMAT Club in winter of 2010 as I started preparing to take my GMAT. I was having some issues with my practice tests. They were not turning out the way I wanted them to, and was just looking for something to help boost my score. So I got onto Google and searched under GMAT Prep, and up popped GMAT Club, and it was the best thing that happened to my MBA journey. I found out about the Manhattan GMAT books, which really helped me get up to speed on the quant portion of the GMAT. I was really struggling there. And then also another huge help was the GMAT Club tests, which once Manhattan got me to about a 45 in quant, The GMAT Club test really pushed me to the 80th percentile in quant. I wound up with a 710 on the GMAT with a breakdown of 48 quant, 40 verbal, and I couldn't have done it without GMAT Club. Once I finished with the test, I moved over to the other side of the site to get some application advice, and that too was invaluable. There was an army practically of other applicants, alums, consultants, all giving out really solid and useful advice on everything from how to structure essays to school visits and interviews. And when I finally got accepted to a couple of schools, I even had people helping me out trying to figure out where I should attend. So GMAT Club has been a really instrumental part of the MBA journey for me, and I'm happy to still continue to be a member of the site and help out in any way possible, kind of pay it forward, give back some of the knowledge that people gave me last year. So once again, I want to say congratulations to GMAT Club and happy 1 millionth post.
Hi, my name is Alex, and I'm currently a second-year student at Harvard Business School. It seems a little crazy to me, but it's been probably a little bit over 2 years since I first started hanging out on GMAT Club, and I think back then I was obsessing about the GMAT, psychoanalyzing the application process, and getting feedback from other people who had gone to some of these school events already. Either way, this forum's been a huge help to me. I actually count many GMAT clubbers at HBS among my friends, although it was a little bit awkward at first since we only knew each other's screen names. As a quick background on me, I attended a state university, and then after that I spent about 8 years doing supply chain stuff in the consumer packaged goods industry before coming to HBS. I've shifted gears a little bit. I'm currently going down the entrepreneurial path, and I'm actually working to build an enterprise software company with a couple friends of mine. I'm also married. I'm the publisher of our student newspaper, and I'm active in a bunch of clubs around campus, so it's been a busy couple years. Overall, regarding the MBA application process, I definitely empathize with what many of you guys are going through right now. It's definitely a stressful and exhausting process, which seems at times arbitrary, opaque, and even unfair. With that said, the emotional highs and lows that come with applying to business school are in many ways a mirror of the actual business school experience. So, a couple insights. Business school is actually busier than I expected, it's more stressful than I expected, and it's actually academically much more challenging than I expected. However, on the flip side, my classmates are nicer than I expected, I'm learning far more than I expected, and I'm finding that the Harvard experience is much more than simply a network and a name. So generally, what advice can I share about applying to business school? Probably very little. In all honesty, the B school application process is so personal that the only person I know how to get into business school is myself. With that said, you'll probably hear over and over that HBS only looks for leadership, or that's the primary emphasis, and I just want to make sure I clarify that point for those who may misinterpret it. The important thing here is to remember that leadership is not about management, but rather influence. No one really cares if you manage a team or not. What they actually care about is how you've made a positive impact on your organization or the people around you. So learning to tell the story while demonstrating humility, self-awareness, etc. will go a long way, whether it's your essays or your interview. Oh, and one quick thing. Once you get into business school, be sure to be nice and be generous with your fellow classmates. This program itself is short and only lasts a couple years, but your reputation with them lasts a lifetime. Best of luck, everyone.
Hi GMAT Club, Hunter here. I wanted to take a few minutes to share my thoughts on the importance of weaving a consistent story across your entire application. The applications this year are shorter than they've ever been at most schools, and that means you have to rely heavily on the entire application telling your story rather than just the essays. You want to take a step back and make sure you can tell what your story is, independent of the application. Why is it you want an MBA and why now? Why are you applying to this particular school? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Why is it that an MBA at this school is the most logical transitional step from where you currently are to your post-MBA goals? There are a few key things that you certainly want to tie together in the application. The first one is your essays. Your essays are still the most personal part of the application, and you want to try and tie whatever the conclusion is of them back to your main MBA story. The second one is your resume. The resume is your timeline of all your work history and experiences, or at least most of your work history. You want to try and highlight accomplishments or work experience that aligns best with your MBA goals. The third thing is your recommendations. I was once told that one of the quickest ways to get dinged is if your application tells one story and your recommendations tell something completely different. You might want to try and talk to your recommenders and seed them with ideas that will help them align their stories with what you're trying to convey to the AdCom. For example, try and give them examples of projects or programs you worked on together that might highlight experiences that would back your overall MBA story. Finally, your extracurriculars. Now, for me personally, my extracurriculars were fairly weak, and I strengthened them with my work experience. But many of you are the exact opposite, where you have very strong extracurriculars that you want to highlight to show that you have these capabilities that offset work experience or some other part of the application. Finally, remember to use the GMAT Club to its fullest. I know that the forum was a huge help to me as I was writing my application. The chat rooms too. There were several times when I reached out to members to help get feedback on how I had worded something or how I should try and convey something that really made my application come across stronger. Anyways, I hope this was helpful, and best of luck.